It started as something small, almost nothing, a moment of softness on an ordinary evening that Maya Alvarez would have forgotten the next day, if the next day hadn't come with scratching at her door. Maya lived alone at the edge of a quiet neighborhood where the last row of houses backed into a strip of woods, the kind of place people moved to for peace and nature, then complained when nature actually showed up. She worked from home, did her grocery runs late, and liked her routines predictable. Tea at night, a book, the porch light on until she went to bed. That Tuesday evening, she stepped outside with a bag of trash and froze. Something was standing at the edge of her driveway, half in shadow, half in the spill of porch light. At first her brain said, "Big cat." Then it corrected itself. Bobcat. It was taller than she expected. Lean, muscular, with tufted ears and a short tail that twitched like a warning. Its coat was a mottled mix of tawny brown and dark spots, blending perfectly into the leaf litter behind it. Maya's breath caught. She stayed perfectly still, trash bag hanging from her hand like a useless weapon. The bobcat stared back, not aggressive, not relaxed either, just watching. Maya whispered, to nobody, "Okay, hi." The bobcat didn't move. Its nose lifted slightly as if it was tasting the air. Then it took one slow step forward, paused, and took another. Maya's heart started to hammer. She backed toward the porch without turning her back on it. Her instincts screamed, "Go inside! Lock the door! Do not make eye contact with the wild predator!" But the bobcat didn't lunge. It looked thin. That was what finally cut through her fear. The animal's ribs weren't sticking out dramatically, but there was a tightness to its body, a sharpness, like it had been running on empty for too long. Maya had grown up in Arizona. She knew the rules. Don't feed wildlife. Don't encourage them. Don't create dependence. She also knew what it looked like when something was hungry enough to take a risk. The bobcat's eyes flicked toward the trash bag. Maya swallowed. No, absolutely not. She slipped inside, locked the door, and set the trash down by the kitchen. Then she did the dumb thing. She stood by the window and watched. The bobcat stayed at the edge of the driveway, still as a statue, as if it believed waiting would change the world. Maya's mind raced. It could just be passing through. It could be sick. It could have kittens somewhere. It could be used to people if someone had been feeding it already. Bad sign. She grabbed her phone and searched. Bobcat citing what to do. Everything told her, do not feed it. Maya stared at the bobcat through the glass. Then, almost as if the universe wanted to test her resolve, she heard a faint sound from the woods behind her house. High, thin, and desperate. A kitten cry. Maya's skin prickled. The bobcat's head snapped toward the trees. Its ears rotated like satellite dishes. It took one step toward the woods, then stopped and looked back at the house. At her. Maya felt something shift inside her. Not logic. Something older. She opened the fridge and pulled out leftover roasted chicken. Not much. A few small pieces. She tore them into chunks with shaking fingers. "I'm not feeding you," she whispered, as if the bobcat could hear her through the glass. "I'm just helping you leave." She cracked the door open, just enough to slide the food onto the far end of the driveway. Then she retreated back inside immediately. The bobcat waited a full minute, watching the door like it expected a trap. Then it approached. It didn't pounce or rush. It moved carefully, nose down, testing every inch. When it reached the chicken, it sniffed, then grabbed a piece and stepped back, eyes never leaving the house. It ate quickly. Then it grabbed another piece. Not to eat, to carry. The bobcat lifted its head, chicken dangling from its mouth, and vanished into the trees like it had never been there. Maya stood frozen behind the window, heart pounding, wondering what she'd just done. She slept badly that night, partly because she kept replaying the moment the bobcat looked at her, and partly because, around 2 a.m., she thought she heard something outside, but told herself it was just branches. The next morning, Maya was halfway through making coffee when she heard it clearly. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Not the soft tapping of a squirrel on the roof, not the random thump of wind-blown debris. This was deliberate. At her front door. Maya set the mug down so fast coffee splashed. She stood still, listening, every muscle tense. Scratch, scratch. Then a small, high sound. A chirp. Maya's stomach flipped. She approached the door slowly, like someone in a horror movie who knows better and does it anyway. She looked through the peephole, and her breath stopped. The bobcat was sitting on her welcome mat, not snarling, not pacing, just sitting, tail wrapped around its paws, ears upright, eyes fixed on the door as if it expected her to answer, like this was a normal appointment. Maya's hands went cold. "What? What are you doing?" she whispered. Scratch. Maya swallowed hard and backed away from the door. Her brain finally kicked into emergency mode. Wildlife at your door was not cute. It was not a Disney moment. It was a problem. She grabbed her phone and called animal control. Voicemail. She tried again. Busy line. She tried the non-emergency police line. The operator promised to put in a request. Meanwhile, the scratching continued. Soft, but steady. Maya couldn't just stand there forever. She stepped to the side window that gave her a wider view of the porch. The bobcat was still there. But now Maya saw something else. Behind the bobcat, tucked close to the wall where the morning shade lingered, was a small shape. Then another. 2 tiny bobcat kittens. Both of them were huddled against the siding like they were trying to hide, their little faces peeking out. Their fur was fluffier, their ears too big, their eyes wide and unsure. Maya's heart dropped. "Oh no," she breathed. The mother bobcat wasn't here for more food. She was here because she had brought her babies. Maya's mind spun. Why would a wild bobcat bring kittens to a human house? Unless she couldn't keep them safe where they were. Unless something had happened in the woods. Fire, coyotes, a collapsed den, a dog, a trapped fence line. Unless she needed help. Maya felt her chest tighten with a fear she couldn't name. She watched as the mother bobcat turned her head and gently nudged one kitten forward with her nose. Then she looked at the door again. Scratch. Maya's throat went dry. The bobcat was asking, not in a human way, but in the only language it had. Persistence, presence, a refusal to leave. Maya did the only thing she could think of. She grabbed a towel, a thick pair of gloves, and opened the door a crack. Barely. The mother bobcat stiffened instantly, eyes sharp. Maya kept her voice low. Okay, I see you. I'm not going to hurt them. I need you to stay calm." The bobcat didn't move toward her, but it also didn't run. It held its ground, body tense, protective, watching Maya's hands. Maya spotted it then. One kitten's front leg looked wrong, bent slightly, and the kitten was putting almost no weight on it. Injury. Maya's stomach sank. She couldn't fix that. Not safely. She shut the door gently and called again. This time not animal control, but the nearest wildlife rehabilitation center. A woman answered immediately, calm and focused. "Wildlife Rescue Hotline. What's your emergency?" Maya's words tumbled out. "A bobcat. She's at my door. She has 2 kittens. One is hurt. She's not leaving." There was a pause that felt like disbelief. "Did you say the bobcat is at your door?" "Yes, literally." "Okay," the woman said, suddenly brisk. "Do not try to touch the kittens. Do not feed them again. Keep pets inside. Keep your distance. We're sending a responder. Where are you located?" Maya gave her address with shaking hands. "Stay inside," the woman instructed. "Watch from a window. If the bobcat moves off, tell us immediately." Maya hung up and returned to the window. The mother bobcat was still sitting on the mat like she'd decided this was the safest place in the world. The kittens mewed softly, and then Maya saw the detail that made everything click. One kitten's fur was damp and smudged with dirt, as if it had been dragged. The other had burrs tangled around its tail. They looked like they'd been through something. Their den had been destroyed. The mother had nowhere to go, and last night she'd taken the chicken Maya left. Not for herself, but to bring to them. Now she was doing the only thing she could imagine would work, bringing them to the one place where she'd gotten help before. When the wildlife rescue truck arrived, the responder, an older man named Henry, didn't rush. He stepped out slowly with a carrier and a thick blanket draped over one arm. He glanced at Maya through the window and motioned for her to stay inside. Henry crouched several feet away from the porch and spoke softly, not to Maya, but to the bobcat. "Hey, Mama," he murmured. "I see you. Good girl. Good job." The bobcat's eyes never left him. Henry laid the carrier on the porch, opened it, and backed away. Then he did something Maya didn't expect. He put down a small towel in the shade, away from the door, and stepped back further, giving the mother space. The bobcat hesitated. She looked at the carrier, looked at Henry, looked at the door again. Then she nudged the kittens forward. One kitten limped. Maya covered her mouth, tears rising without warning. Slowly, the mother guided them toward the towel. Henry waited, still as stone. When the kittens were close enough, Henry moved in one careful motion, covering them with the towel and lifting them gently into the carrier. The mother bobcat exploded forward, one fierce step, then stopped when Henry held his ground and spoke softly. "It's okay. They're safe. I've got them. I've got them." The bobcat's chest heaved. Her tail lashed once. Henry closed the carrier, stood, and backed away, giving the mother a clear line of sight. For a second, Maya thought the bobcat would attack him. Instead, the bobcat leaned forward and sniffed the carrier door. Then, so quietly Maya almost imagined it, she let out a low, rough sound. Not a growl, not a hiss, something else. Something that sounded like relief. And then she turned and padded off the porch, vanishing into the woods. Maya stared at the empty welcome mat. The scratching had stopped, but Maya's hands were still shaking. Henry knocked on the door gently. Maya opened it, keeping her body behind the frame like she was still half expecting the bobcat to return. Henry's eyes were kind. "You did the right thing calling us." Maya swallowed. "Why did she come here?" Henry looked toward the trees. "Because you helped once, and she remembered." Maya's voice cracked. "Do they survive?" Henry nodded. "The injured leg could be a sprain or a fracture. We'll X-ray. We'll treat them. If we can keep them wild, we'll release them when they're ready." Maya exhaled, shaking. Henry lifted the carrier carefully. "And for what it's worth, you'll probably never see her again." Maya nodded slowly, heart heavy and strangely grateful. She watched the truck drive away. She went inside and sat at her kitchen table with her coffee cooling in front of her. The house was quiet again, but Maya couldn't stop thinking about the way the bobcat had sat at her door. Not begging, not threatening, just trusting, just enough to risk everything for her babies. And Maya realized something that stayed with her long after the scratching was gone. Sometimes the wild doesn't come to your home to take something. Sometimes it comes because it has nowhere else left to go.